Hi there. Welcome to the new weekly Ozone radio show coming to you from sunny Bermuda. The show features items of general interest, including health, finances, lifestyle, with a dash of common sense and humor. Your hosts are Robin Trimingham and Bill Storie of the Olderhood group. We hope you enjoy the show. So let's do this.
Welcome to the weekly Ozone radio show. I'm Robin Trimingham, and my guests today are Olderhood Chairman Bill Storie and Ian Price, who is a UK financial management advisor. Welcome, Ian.
Welcome, and nice to be back again. 4 weeks has passed very quickly.
Certainly has, and a lot's changed even in that short time. I think we have a great topic today. We are chatting about the difference between value investment and investing for cash. So for all our non-financial experts, Ian, what's the difference?
Well, I think the words are very interesting to talk about. I think what I always talk about is, as you're building up your retirement pot, for want of a better word, you want to get real growth to get your money to work as hard as you possibly can. So you want assets to grow in the best way possible for the risk you're prepared to take. So I can remember, it's a long time ago, and I'm sure Bill will remind me that when I was 40, 25 years ago, it was a key objective to drive value and drive my investments forward. Now I'm just about to hit 65, one starts to consider those assets and how they should be invested, because I'm in the phase where I need to start thinking about taking that income from those funds. So you have a different approach to that sort of situation.
Yeah, I think that's right, because I think there is, and I think a lot of people miss this point. But when you talk about saving for retirement, people say, well, I've got a pension, I've got a state pension, or I'll get a state pension, and I've got my employment, my company pension, whatever sort of thing, and that's fine. I mean, you don't have any control over the investment of the state pension, but certainly the company pension, you have a degree of control through a choice of mutual funds, whatever that may be. But I think the point that a lot of people actually miss is that over and above that, you want to be, or you should be, and hopefully you are, saving independently, if you wish. In other words, putting money away, every month. And while a lot of people kind of understand that concept, and perhaps, a lot of people have difficulty in doing that, and, we can understand that. The point, though, is that if you are able to save, as I say, out with your pension, contributions, etc., if you are able to save, then where are you putting that money? Are you putting that money into like a bank account, a savings account, etc., and getting, a fraction of interest or whatever sort of thing? So I think that's kind of what we mean by, value investing, or perhaps investing for value, perhaps is an easier way to say it,
Bill, I think I agree. It's funny. I'm a bit like you. I do a prolific round of reading and see different surveys. I've just seen something. I appreciate this is UK based. It was fascinating that they reckon over 90% of people sit in what's called the default fund that the company offer them for their scheme. So a company will say, here's a fund that we think you should be in. And about 90% of the survey I saw recently just stick in that one fund, Bill, which is quite amazing to me. So if you're 25 or 55, you're in the same fund. Doesn't seem right to me. So I think I'm saying to everybody now, you've got to start taking more control of even your pension funds you're being built up by your employer. You have got choice there about where to invest that money based on your risk profile, etc. But you're absolutely right, Bill. I mean, I've just seen a recent survey, in the UK at the minute. Okay, I appreciate we just said, just before we started, UK rates have gone up today. But as at yesterday, you'd be lucky to get anywhere close to 0.7, 0.75 on cash at the minute, which is an inflation now, which we're talking about, is going over 5-6%. It's eroding your money. It's not growing your money.
That's the next people who are listening to this. They're not financial experts, and the whole thing seems terribly intimidating, but it's time well spent working to understand, the impact of these things. And also, as you say, that you do have choices in how your money is invested, and going in, sitting down and with an expert and saying, okay, walk me through these. What is the real difference? I have a question for both of you. One of the things that you hear along the way is that as you move towards retirement, you should start switching from 100% value toward more and more towards cash, and not just wait until you actually do retire to make one big switch. What's your take on that?
I think you've got to be very careful. I think you've got old days where you are, Robin, much younger than me. Okay, so the situation is when you used to get to the stage whereby you took your retirement fund and immediately took income and purchased maybe an annuity, you wanted to reduce the risk that one day you had to buy that annuity, your money was totally invested in the market. The problem I've got now is you're sort of right and sort of wrong, because if you then start, which we briefly mentioned last time, that you're going to use your retirement fund like a bank account more and start taking income on a year-by-year basis, what you wouldn't want to do is put all of that, for the sake of an argument, into like a cash fund, because potentially that could be 30 years. So I think you've got to get a mix. And I think nowadays that's far more important than ever before. Whereas years ago, we used to say, 5 years before retirement, consolidate your gains, move to a cash fund. I'm sort of simplifying it completely. You shouldn't be doing that now. And if you think where we are at the minute with the world's markets, you wouldn't want to be doing that at the minute. So I think what you've got to try and do is have a strategy that you've got some sort of cash available in case of emergencies to protect yourself against the market. But staying invested for a lot of people will be the right thing to some extent. I'm sure Bill's got some comments on this as well.
Well, I think, I think that's right. But I think, as I said a few minutes ago, there's a difference between the pension fund, employment pension fund, whatever, and how it's invested. And you're absolutely correct. I suspect a lot of people perhaps don't even realize that they can ask the question, where are my funds invested? Do I have any choices? So I think that could be step one for most people. Just ask, with your HR department, whoever it may be, the administrator, what choices do I have? Do I have choices, and what do I have? But I think we want to sort of look at that on the one hand, but then on the other hand, it's that, call it that independent savings plan that we're sort of saying you should be thinking about. And I think there, while you still have income from your job, and this is now outside your pension fund, okay? This is now completely separate, independent, okay? And that you can put away a little bit of money every month or, whatever, and hopefully leave it there, and don't sort of say, oh, well, wait a minute, maybe I'll just leave it there. It's the investing of that, call it a fund if you wish, it's the investing of that. And I think when you are in your income generating years, you are looking for investing for value. So in other words, if you invest 1,000, you want it to be 1,100 next year or 1,200, whatever it may be. You're not looking for any cash dividends coming out of it. You just want value. But when you get older and approach retirement, and you're right, that you can look at your pension fund where you maybe go annuity or a drawdown or whatever sort of thing. Again, I'm going to separate that. I'm going to look at that independent fund that we've just created. I think at that particular point in time, perhaps investing for value is not that important, because what we all know is that in retirement, cash is king. So you want to be investing that independent fund for cash dividends or interest or whatever, through preference dividends perhaps, or through some type of mutual fund which actually pays out cash. In other words, when you're retired, the increasing in value doesn't have that much impact. I mean, it's good to have it, obviously, but it's the cash that you need. You need the cash to pay, because you don't have your income.
Bill, you were very good when we were talking slightly beforehand. What we've got to be realising is we're talking nice, grandiose, if you're right, Bill. The strategy has to be dependent upon how much you really got and how much you actually need. At the end of the day, I'm going to use UK figures. If you need, say you need £1,000 a month, you've got to generate £1,000 a month without any undue risks, if that makes sense. If you then have more assets that you don't need, then you can take a better risk on that bit over and above that. But I am very conscious, Bill, that sometimes as an industry, we've always talked about big figures, big funds. That isn't the way across the whole world at all.
Speaking of people who may not have huge incomes, but they're still trying to save, pre-retirement, if you're going for a value investment, how much cash should you be holding back for an emergency fund, in your opinion?
Right. it's a classic line. If you look at anybody anywhere around the world, they'll always say have rainy day money or whatever. It'd be a lovely position that everybody can have like 3 to 6 months income sitting in cash all the time of their lives. If I'm really honest, there were periods of my time where that was just not possible. That's just fact. But we'd always say, the first stepping stone would be, and you have a great conversation, I'm sure we'll cover this in future events, get your debt down as low as you possibly can outside, say, your mortgage. And then if you could keep 3 to 6 months there, it's brilliant. I am very conscious that can be really difficult. I found psychologically, as people get older, believe it or not, they seem to want more cash held, even though they might not need more cash. They emotionally want more cash. I don't know why it is, but I've seen that a lot of times. I've also seen a lot of business people, they've worked all their lives, a bit like Bill and yourself, and many worked all our lives. You've taken a lot of risks. Actually, when you get to retirement, you go, do you know what? I don't want to take any more risks. If I've got enough to do what I want to do, I'm just going to chill out, because I've done it all the way through. I remember meeting a really lovely gentleman who just got very happy with level income in retirement. And believe it or not, this is a fair few years ago. He decided to buy an annuity because he just didn't want any risk in retirement. That's personal choice.
Well, I think also the point about the value issue when you get into the retirement thing, notwithstanding the cash piece that we've just been speaking about, the only twister that we have to that, investing for value and then investing for cash, the only twister in retirement is if you want to leave an inheritance. That changes the game plan significantly, because if you can get yourself into the enviable position that and again, I'm going to talk outside the pension fund, okay? Yeah. If you can get in the enviable position that you've got enough cash, £1,000, whatever as you said, if you can get enough cash monthly, every week, whatever, to live nicely and do what you want to do, travel, whatever you want to do in retirement, that's fine. So having an element of an investment that increases in value, on the one hand, we're saying it's probably not that important because it's a cash flow that you're looking for, apart from the twister. And the twister is the inheritance. So if you want to say, look, I've got enough money to live, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be fine, but I want to leave enough money for the kids, then you're kind of going backwards. You're going back to, well, wait a minute, I've got to have some of this invested for value. I can't keep draining the fund by cash takeout, perhaps when I don't really need that amount of cash, because I want to build up the investment strategy vis-a-vis the inheritance.
Bill, I couldn't agree with that. And I've seen some people, they want to protect the capital and take the income. So I've seen some people make a conscious decision that they're going to just take the natural yield on the investments that they actually hold. So that could be, it might be a 2%, 3%, it doesn't really matter. But actually what they're doing is, you're quite right. In today's world we live in, thinking if you're lucky enough, and there's really two camps, I think, probably three. There's ones that have no problems at all. Therefore, there's a group of us like myself who wants to try and do as much as we possibly can to protect the capital we've got for the children. So you're absolutely right, Bill. That becomes part of another strategy you look at. And I think we're seeing that more and more now about people saying, we've had a conversation before about a pension, for want of better words, just an investment vehicle, that if you can leave it to the next generation, it's fantastic. But if you start eroding capital, you can erode it quite quickly. And given where we are, market fluctuations at the minute, it's quite interesting to watch.
I think you're both making a very good point here. But the reality of life, particularly later life, is that situations change over time. Your personal health situation can change. Your children's situation can change. How often do you guys think you should really be looking at your portfolio, thinking about your life plan, and course correcting as the case may be?
I would say whenever you make a decision, it's for the next year. Because I've just done something just because I thought it would be fun for you guys as well. I've just been on a website that tells me, according to me, my life expectancy is 85. I've got 1 in 4 chance for 2 and a 1 in 10 chance of living to 96. Things will change. So I always talk about you're making a decision for that year. And I would really I employ people, you should be reviewing it at least yearly. We could have sat down in December, which we did. None of us would predict what's going to happen, unfortunately, in the world at the minute. That needs to be, you might need to make some adjustments. But Robin, I always once a year, I always talk to people, you make a decision for the next year, bang.
I would agree with that in the perspective that look at your portfolio, and that could include your pension fund as well.
Yeah,
so what else? Look at your portfolio once a year to either shift or change or buy this, sell that, whatever that may be. But certainly from a strategic perspective, and whether you need a financial advisor or not, and we actually recommend that you should be thinking about having a financial advisor. Okay, but I think certainly in the earlier years, every 5 years, change your strategy. As I say, you may change your specific investments, sort of thing. Maybe 5 years is a little bit too far out, but certainly I wouldn't go beyond 5 years. So 1 year, absolutely. Make sure you're doing everything. I mean, some of us, are spreadsheet gurus and we look at it every day, which is probably not the best way of doing this, but very much on a regular basis. But go to your pension fund people and say, what options do I have? Where am I? What else can I do? But the big thing about, and I know you would agree with this point, Ian. People think they're going to go to the financial advisor and say, what should I invest in? Or how do I say it? We get that. We understand it. That's not the primary reason. The primary reason is you've got to find a financial advisor who is prepared to listen to your circumstances, because yours are different from this guy, whatever. Listen to the circumstances and then advise or adjust or whatever accordingly. That's, as far as I've always been concerned, that's what you go to a financial advisor for. You don't go and say, should I buy Exxon and should I sell BP? I mean, sure, you can do that. That's an investment advisor. We're talking about financial. Tell them. I'm wondering, perhaps maybe next time around, I think it might be a good idea, Ian, to take that split issue of investing for value in your working years and then investing for cash, let's say, in your retirement years, but to give some folks some ideas, some specific strategies regarding how do you actually invest for value? What should you be doing? Should you be in mutual funds, or should you have your own private portfolio? Should you get into stock option plans and so on and so forth, sort of thing? So in other words, we can split. We can do one on the vesting during your working years, and then do a second one after that. How does that sound?
Well, that sounds like a plan. We're just about out of time here. You've been watching the Ozone Weekly Radio Show. If you have a comment or a question about the series, you can reach out to us at Bill, that's BILL, @olderhood.com. And we look forward to chatting with you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.